Disney Plus has already taken a big step toward fixing a mistake the movie made with the character Luke in its adaptation of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. In the 2011 movie, Luke is introduced simply as a fellow camper at Camp Half-Blood and appears to be the same age as the trio of main characters rather than the older, seemingly wiser counselor he was in the books. However, the upcoming TV show's casting of Charlie Bushnell implies that Luke will be much more similar to his counterpart from the books. The Percy Jackson movies had many problems, but one that made a significant impact in the heart of the story was the fact that Luke was no longer in a position to mentor Percy and his friends, a relationship which made his reveal as a traitor all the more heartbreaking. The movies portray all the characters as roughly the same age, whereas the books feature a 7-year age gap between Luke and 12-year-olds Percy and Annabeth. Grover is technically 32, but matures at half speed as he is a satyr. The show is casting its characters to accurately represent the characters' ages, Bushnell being only a few months younger than his character at the time filming began, with a solid gap between him and the Percy Jackson-aged Walker Scobell. This age gap is incredibly important to the story, allowing Luke to take on the role of big brother to Percy and the others, which will only heighten the emotion surrounding his inevitable betrayal after he spent so much time making them all feel safe and wanted. The age gap also creates the ability for Luke to have a backstory and trauma that all predate his friendships at Camp Half-Blood and contribute to his motivations for betraying Olympus. In the books, Luke runs away as a young kid after his mother goes mad. Among many run-ins with monsters and a disappointing experience with his father, Hermes, Luke joins Zeus' daughter Talia, Grover, and 7-year-old Annabeth. After Talia's tragic death, Luke loses faith in the Olympians' roles as gods as well as parents. Luke's history with Annabeth and Grover was absent from the Percy Jackson movie, as was his specific grievance with his father, and his reveal as the villain was underwhelming and senseless. The series' ability to include this backstory will round Luke out as a three-dimensional and sympathetic antagonist as well as set up key details involving Talia's impact on the next season's storyline. Luke's friendship should challenge the other Percy Jackson characters. The relationships Luke has with Percy, Grover, and Annabeth create conflict for the young heroes as the series progresses. Luke's motivation is centered around his justified distrust in their godly parents, but his younger friends haven't lost hope in them yet. Luke's transition into an antagonist challenges the main trio's ideas of right and wrong because though he's aligned with the villain, Kronos, Luke has a meaningful and emotional relationship with them. Though framed as the good guys, the Olympians have never made a sufficient effort to care for their children. Having to choose between their friend and their parents is incredibly impactful in the midst of the story's themes of family and what it means to belong. At the very least, Bushnell's casting means that the characters will likely interact in a much different way than they did in the movie, and many key elements of Luke's character will be much clearer. With Disney Plus taking care to follow details such as characters' ages, the upcoming series is much more likely to follow the Percy Jackson books' intended dynamics. Though there are many more details to consider, it's fair to assume Percy Jackson and the Olympians will feature a much more emotionally complex relationship between Luke and the other characters.
With a gentle touch, you tell me what all love I have to share. It must be 'cause you are what I all knew. Only you do know, you do know, you do know. Oh, you do know the courage. down if